Hi, everybody. Karen Roby here for TechRepublic. Happy today to be joined by Tavia Freri. He is the president, CTO, co-founder of Safeguard Cyber. Thanks for being with me here today.
Thanks for having me, Karen. Appreciate it.
Certainly. You know, we do all of our work now, or the good majority of it, through things like this, right? Zoom and Teams, and we're talking on Slack, and we're talking with people outside of our organization and bringing them in through all of these channels, and all of this is going on. And you know, the bad guys, the criminals out there, they're waiting to take a bite out of everything, and that's what we're seeing so much of since this pandemic has started. What are the problems we're seeing more of right now?
Yeah, to your point, we've seen a massive adoption of collaboration platforms such as Teams, Slack, WebEx, Zoom. Some of these are growing 700% per quarter. Teams is the fastest growing product for Microsoft ever, right? But they do bring a series of risks. Not much different and ultimately than we've seen in email. There are malicious Word documents that can be accidentally dropped into a Slack channel. We've seen misconduct and inappropriate and threatening language taking place, and more classic cybersecurity issues such as insider threats, cyber fraud, and sharing of critical information.
One of the things, this always is really fascinating to me, how this happens. You talk about social engineering and how people, through business email compromise. I mean, things like this are still happening every day, and even more now.
Yeah, look, from a risk perspective, I think the challenge is the scale, right? It is in a massive amount of data. There's a video stream, there's an audio stream, there's text, there's files. And how do you identify those risks through that data is hard. We had a customer, 5,000 employees, had 160,000 messages every day. And only with advanced machine learning can you detect that malware. You can detect that link that could be spear phishing your employees.
Yeah, and what are you seeing right now? A lot of, I mean, is it malware, still phishing attempts, even though we talk about, don't click on this, don't click on that, people still do. Passwords are still weak. I mean, where are you seeing a lot of the weak spots?
There's exactly what you described, Karen. There's certainly the classic cybersecurity issues. There's, just like the email, they still happen. They still take place in all these channels. What we've seen, the difference, and the scary difference, is that these attacks can be more targeted. They can be more spear phishing focused, because there's a lot more data about the victim in that takes place. So that is certainly a major area of concern. But the challenge is visibility. The enterprise, the security team, the CIO, doesn't have a full understanding of what is taking place on that massive amount of data. So they're very well aware of all the risks that could happen, everything from brand reputation to a compliance issue to true cybersecurity. But how do you gain that visibility, right? At the message level, you really need security that is first portable, because the difference in these channels is that I could leave the network, I could go to Starbucks, I can get on a Wi-Fi, I can switch to my iPad that is not a a protected device. It's a new on-ramp into Teams. The security layer has to really think about how these platforms have used, which is a different mindset for how typically security has been approached at the enterprise level.
And they're not going away, right? I mean, these are platforms that we're using more and more in light of this last year, but they're not going anywhere. So companies have to wrap their arms around this.
I'll date myself here, but I remember a time when companies didn't even allow email. They blocked email, believe it or not.
Right.
I put files in my inbox and outbox in this folder here, and I don't know about this email thing. Everything's going to be recorded.
Right.
I actually recall that time. And look, the old is new again, right? We've seen first it was closed gardens, Slack and Teams. You could only talk within the Slack of your enterprise, of your company. And now Slack, through Slack Connect, can connect to other companies. So it's, the evolution that we saw in email is taking place again. And with that comes new and additional risks. But it's just like email, you can't close it because there's just a lot more business agility. There's just a strong business case for greater communication, more agile communication. So it's, to your point, Karen, it's not being shut down. In fact, it's only going to accelerate, right? Because the business need is tremendous, and the upside is tremendous. Metrigy, a well-known research firm, did a recent study. They found that if you look at the ROI of collaboration channel, 22% increased revenue. There's a 40% improvement in employee productivity. And of these successful companies, 66% had security in place explicitly for those collaboration channels, right? So there's a strong relationship here about thinking of these channels as a core of the enterprise, how the enterprise can grow, especially during now work from anywhere world that we're living in. It'll increase revenue, but you have to think of it in terms of, just like you would secure your email, you have to secure these channels from all these risks we've been discussing today, Karen.
Yeah, and final thoughts here from you on, where we are, where we're heading, and how people need to be thinking in general about cybersecurity. What are your final thoughts there?
I think as a user, we have to be aware that there is a tremendous amount of data that is generated by using these novel, modern, and novel communication channels. I mean, thinking of this as Zoom, there's the video stream, there's the audio stream, there's the files I share in a chat, there's the users who are part of it, there's a security stance, and we've become very well aware of that in email, but training needs to happen about the security implications of using these channels, and then use technology to actually protect them as we protect other critical applications in the enterprise. They are critical infrastructure. And when we can make the jump to start thinking of these apps as critical infrastructure, just like we would our financial system, right? That's super well protected. Adoption will increase, as we saw with the information from that report, and even productivity and revenue could increase.
Yeah, some great thoughts there. And, Otavio, it's not about dating yourself. You're just showing us the level of experience you have, right? Of
Okay,
all
well,
of these,
thank you. I'll
all
take
of
that.
these years. Yeah. I mean, when I like to tell my kids, because they just can't wrap their head around it, that, the internet really didn't exist when I started working, in the real world. And that just is such a foreign concept. So, if anything, it just shows your experience level. When it comes to cybersecurity, hey, that's never a bad thing.
Oh, I appreciate that, Karen. You're very kind.
Most certainly. Cybersecurity is something we can never talk about too much. We talk about it all the time here on Tech Republic, and we certainly appreciate all of you being out there with us here today. And we hope you'll check out Tech Republic for much more.